Let's do this.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Live from the New Scientist Labs,
Janine Young.
newscientist.com.
Yes, joining us from Melbourne City, Janine Young. Hello to you, Janine.
Good morning.
Hey, let's dig into the first story. Sing me the news and I'll remember it.
A bunch of researchers in the United States have been inspired by the story of a man who had Alzheimer's, who was able to remember the news of the day when his daughter sang them to him out of the newspaper. It's a lovely sounding story because people with Alzheimer's, once they deteriorate past a certain point, can't form new memories, and they have a great deal of trouble getting around because of this memory loss, and then it gets worse from there. Basically, it degenerates. So they did a bunch of experiments where they were looking at song lyrics. They took 40 of them and gave them to a group of people who had Alzheimer's and a group of healthy seniors, as they called them. So it sounds as though they had minimal memory loss and they were still really very healthy. They found that of the 40 song lyrics that were delivered with the song, so they were children's songs, so it might have been, I don't know, Mary Had a Little Lamb or something like that, of those that were delivered with the music compared to those that didn't, where they just read it on a piece of paper, with the recall, when it came back to that later on, even when it was jumbled up with other lyrics that they'd never seen before, the recall was actually much better. 40% of the lyrics combined with the music were recalled compared to 28% of those that didn't have the music in the Alzheimer's patients. Now, this was 80% in the healthy seniors, so obviously there's a big difference there, but those that actually had the music behind it were able to recall these lyrics a lot better. And researchers are hoping that they might be able to do things such as deliver new medication regimes to people via song because they have a better chance of remembering it.
And that's a significant increase, as you say. And there has been research in the past, and I'm pretty sure we've talked about it, with early childhood education and kids learning facts through song.
Song is actually a remarkably effective way to be able to remember things. And this is slightly irrelevant, but I remember song lyrics from when I was 12. And I don't know how they stick in my head, but they do. And it's also probably part of the reason why jingles, advertising to song is so effective, because it gets stuck in your head, and for some reason you remember it a lot better than you do just straight information delivered. They don't know the mechanism behind this. They don't know how the brain is doing this. But I think that it may be getting down into parts of the brain that aren't affected by the Alzheimer's until much, much later in the progression of the disease. So frankly, if you've got a better way of remembering things, let's do it. It can't be a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. Now, something that is a bad thing is this oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. No one seems to know what to do about it. No one seems to know how much oil is in fact coming out, and no one seems to know where the oil is going to go, Janine.
And we had the marvellous spectacle about a week ago of the company and the others involved blaming each other. That was delightful. Just get in and fix the damn thing, I think was what most people turned around and said, including the president. Now there's a bit of debate as to how much is actually coming out of the damaged rig, because as most people would know, it burnt down in the Gulf of Mexico about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Might even have been longer. It was last month. I take it back. And there's dispute as to how much is actually coming out. They're basing the estimates on the amount of oil that's on the surface of the ocean. And they're saying it's about 5,000 barrels a day, which is just a vast amount of fuel when you think about it. It's huge. But research that was done in 2000 under controlled conditions is suggesting that it may in fact be more than that. What they did was took 60 cubic metres, and the plume at the moment I think is about 8,000 cubic metres, so there's a sense of scale here. And they released either diesel fuel or crude oil and looked at where it went. Only about between 2 and 28% of it came to the surface, and this was at it was about 800 metres off the coast. So it was actually really quite shallow compared to what we're doing here, because it's about 2,000 metres in the Gulf of Mexico. So it's more than 2 times as deep.
Goodness.
And they're finding, exactly, so they're finding that through this experiment that if only, say, average 8% is coming to the surface, where is the rest going?
Yeah.
They think some gets dispersed in droplets. Some of it is likely to stay down towards the bottom of the ocean, because when you get mixing of oil and water into some kind of emulsion, you can get the density of it being roughly the same as the denser water 2 kilometres down. So it's very probable that you have a whole bunch of it sitting much, much deeper in the ocean that can't be seen. So you could be losing up to twice as much as they're believing it is when it's based purely on surface readings. I just don't know, and that's the problem.
And so it's just hanging out there at the moment, potentially.
Well, potentially, and that's the thing. Even under controlled conditions, they could not find where all this oil went. Only some of it came to the surface. They know some evaporated and some was dispersed. But even they couldn't find it all underneath control conditions. So who knows, under a deeper, more violent, larger release scenario, goodness only knows where it's going.
Wow. It's amazing that people aren't more angry about this. America seems, I don't know, they just seem like, oh, it's a bad thing, but no. And it's only affecting those people down on the coast. Everyone should be like angry at BP or someone about this.
You've got to hope that American television and newspapers is in fact covering this more than we see from this side of the world.
Yeah.
You have to hope that there's got to be more to this. I can imagine there are some very angry residents. I know the oyster farmers, certainly around the area in the Gulf of Mexico, are very concerned about their livelihoods, but it's got to go further than that, as you say.
Yeah. Fascinating. Janine Young, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Those stories you'll find in the New Scientist magazine coming out next week. Don't forget to check out the website as well, New Scientist.